Good morning, everyone. I think we can see that people are using technology in every aspect of their lives, and now we're actually starting to see it embraced as part of our education. From online programs, artificial intelligence tools, digital assessments, and smart devices, people are seeing the future of education and learning made more accessible and more engaging through technology. And actually, according to a global learning survey conducted by Pearson this year across the world, people are expecting digital and virtual learning to become the new normal over the next decade. So is the internet going to be your next classroom? Will printed textbooks become obsolete? Will YouTube become a primary learning tool? So I'm absolutely delighted to be chairing a panel on the application of digital technologies across the educational spectrum. And to have such a panel with a wealth of experience and expertise in education in Africa, it's going to be really interesting to hear from them about their own experiences of how they've applied digital technologies at the different stages of education, the benefits it has delivered, and the challenges they faced on their way. So without further ado, I'm going to dive into the questions. I'll have a question for all panel members. It really is, what uses of technology have you used to improve the efficiency and the management of your current education provision in your country? If I could start to you, Honourable Professor Murwira first.
Thank you very much. I think I want to start by saying that we are undergoing deep transformation in the offerings of our higher and tertiary education, science and technology development. What I'm saying is that when you look at the missions of our universities in Africa, the missions have mainly been the missions for producing workers based on teaching, research, and community service. Therefore, education became just a tool for making sure that people can work for someone. But the question is, who is that someone who they have to work for? So we have transformed it now in Zimbabwe. This is the three-mission education. We call it Education 3.0. We now have moved to Education 5.0, where innovation and industrialization are an integral part of the offerings of a university. So first of all, I think it's very important that the context in which we apply technology is clear. We are saying industry shall be born from universities. Industries do not fall from the sky. They are getting out of the people that we train. This is the context in which we are now applying our technology. And we have said, in order for Education 5.0 to work, the philosophy has to be right. The first one of this philosophy is what we call heritage-based philosophy. Work on things that work for Africa. What we are saying is that we are not changing any formula of gravity. We are not changing any physics formula. We are just changing the focus of our education so that it looks at our vegetation, it looks at our resources, and applies it on them. In this context, therefore, we have adopted ICT as a driver of this kind of education. That kind of education that is based on a simple philosophy of ubuntu woto, which basically means the philosophy of being. Who are you as an African? When you are able to know who you are, the rest will just fall in place. And through this, we have seen that although Zimbabwe has got more than 94% literacy, the skills levels were low. So we are now upskilling Zimbabwe based on the technology, based on ICT provisions. So what we have done is to work with companies, for example, telecom companies. We have got an EduZone program where one of the telecom companies, which is called Liquid Telecom, is offering free Wi-Fi to all our students. It's a breakthrough. It has never happened. And just yesterday, we had another agreement with Huawei to do exactly the same. So this is what we are saying in terms of our education. We want our education to cause the industry, because there has been this thing of saying we are training people for jobs. Which jobs? By who? Where were they trained? So we believe when we spread this philosophy, through our innovation, through our technologies, we are able to spread the word and make education work for Africa. This is just an introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And when you offered the Wi-Fi access, did you see an increase of usage in education through that?
Oh yes, yes. What we have seen is that the type of innovations that we are getting now, because we have constructed the idea of innovation hubs. Every university has an innovation hub. And in this innovation hub, they are doing wonders in terms of programming new products and so forth. His Excellency the President here was talking about the technology from Kenya for mobile money. This is what we are now trying to say in the innovation hubs. The students are developing applications and we are patenting them. We are no longer letting them go away where they can be utilized by people who never developed them in the first place. So our innovation hubs are clear testimony of how uptake in ICT technologies in terms of development, because we are not only talking about consuming now, we are talking about participating in development of these things. So basically, we have seen a huge uptake. Our university connectivity is very high. I mean, in tertiary education is very high because most of them anyway are in settings where they have access to electricity and access to things. So we have seen quite a density in the uptake of technology at our universities, but not only to use it, but to develop it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's very interesting. And if I could also ask that same question to Honourable Adutwum, Ghana, about your application of technologies in education.
Thank you so much. In Ghana, technology is being used at different levels and to really enhance teaching and learning, also for back office kind of services. But before I kind of proceed with Ghana, I think the use of technology to enhance teaching and learning, and in some cases, some countries have said that they deployed it and it failed. It did not attain the intended purpose. I think you have to begin deploying technology by looking at what is it that I want to accomplish. You cannot say that technology deployment has gone to waste if the kids have gained some skills which they would then take into the world of work, even if learning outcomes in the core subject did not improve. So before you begin the whole process, you have to begin to look at what is it that technology is going to do for me? Because technology is a means to an end and not an end in itself. So once you know that we want to impact our workforce, we want to make sure our children acquire 21st century skills, let's say in coding and other aspects, use of basic software. Something that the existing workforce may not have the skills in, you are really accomplishing some purpose. So once we have, we did our education sector plan, strategic plan, we're able to sit with the role of technology in education transformation and in helping us build a system. And that is where we are now. For example, if you look at Free Senior High School, this was the first time that we were sending so many children. Last year, over 150,000 more high school students were going to school. Over the years, it will take you about 6 months to know the enrollment in the various schools. Then we deployed the technology that enabled our offices to know within an hour or so. Every hour we could tell how many students we had enrolled in a particular school. And then we could quickly tell which schools will need more students and which schools may need other logistics in order for that to happen. Another way of using technology was supported by USAID, where circuit supervisors who inspect schools, when they inspect those schools, are able to use tablets and actually file a report. That report immediately goes to the district director of education, the regional director. Everybody in the value chain is able to see how instruction was taking place, whether the teacher was there, the teacher was not there. Within a short period of time, intervention can then be deployed to ensure that technology use administratively was yielding some fruits. Now, when you come to areas of using technology to enhance teaching and learning, let's at the basic level, in mathematics, history, and other subjects, I think it's as good as the content. So it's no longer the issue of the hardware that is in your hand, but what content you deploy on the technology would then determine its effectiveness. If students are using a tablet and all that they can do is to read the content just like they could read from a book, you are not going to get much from that. But if they could read something about the history of Africa, and you're talking about the pyramids in Egypt, and then they can click a link to the pyramid and see a video of the pyramid, and then questions will follow. In that case, you are actually taking care of visual learners. And then if there was a project that comes from there for them to build something, you are making create a great opportunity for your kinesthetic learners. You're also getting your children to work in groups and teams, emanating from what they saw through the e-book. And this time, the e-book is not a PDF file. So unless you are able to really enrich the content so that the technology can add value to the teaching and learning process, then you are not going to get to the intended outcome. So what we are doing in Ghana, the budget was read a few weeks ago and a few days ago, and next year we're going to deploy technology at the basic school level. And in that type of deployment, these are the things we are looking at, that can we have quality content that can enhance the teaching and learning. And not the focus should not be on the device. The focus should be on what comes with the device. And by the way, you also have to look at how much the device is saving you. Because if you buy e-books, it's less expensive than your hard copy, than the regular books. So I remember years ago when deploying technology in California, one of the things that we looked at was that after looking at the years that the device will last, we realized that actually it wasn't costing us much at all. Because we look at, okay, if we were to buy the hard copy of this book, this is how much it will cost us. Now, because we are using the e-book version, it's just 30% of the cost. So this is what the technology, the actual technology is saving you. So after you do all your copy, you begin to realize that, you know what? The actual cost of buying this device is not $100, but actually it's about $30, because it's saving me $70 from the textbooks I had to buy. Mm-hmm. It's making teaching and learning easier. So once you do all those calculations, then you can get to the true cost of the technology, which sometimes is way less than the market price that you have. So I think Kenya is helping us. They've deployed it. So when I went there, I was able to see what they were doing. And once we begin to do a large-scale deployment, countries that have done it, we need to learn from them so that we won't repeat their mistakes, and then we can include their best practices in our deployment strategy. Mm-hmm. But we are making progress in terms of access, in terms of the Wi-Fi access in various schools, and this is something that is really going to enhance our free senior high school program, enhancing teaching and learning at the basic level. Mm-hmm. Then we look at the universities and what they are doing there.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you made a very important point about it's the same, that it's got to be the quality of the content, same as a printed textbook. The digital content has got to be quality, it's got to be interactive to really make that learning experience more enriching. I can move on to Mr. Avodagbe in Benin, and about asking your experiences of applying digital technologies in education in Benin.
Merci bien. Vous savez, l'importance du numérique n'est plus à démontrer. Alors, au Bénin, le ministre en charge de l'éducation a essayé à son niveau d'évaluer, c'est-à-dire de faire l'état des lieux sur les instructions du gouvernement. Alors, avec les insuffisances constatées, plusieurs chantiers de réforme ont été engagés, dont les classes numériques. Vous savez, le Bénin a connu un retard en ce qui concerne l'installation des salles multimédia. Alors, ce qui a fait que c'est en novembre dernier que les premières salles multimédia en termes d'expérimentation ont été officiellement lancées. Alors, le gouvernement donc, a installé dans chacun des 12 départements que compte le pays une salle multimédia au niveau du primaire et une au niveau du secondaire. Alors, chaque salle multimédia comporte 41 ordinateurs, dont un pour l'enseignant. Mais dites-vous que le bâtiment préfabriqué a une autonomie d'énergie sur la base des panneaux photovoltaïques. Contrairement à ce qui se faisait en 2015 avec une trentaine d'écoles où quelques ordinateurs avaient été déposés, ayant pour énergie l'énergie conventionnelle, je vous l'ai dit. Donc, la particularité, c'est qu'il y a une autonomie d'énergie et les enfants peuvent travailler avec les enseignants à tout moment, quand bien même le plus souvent on parle de coupure d'énergie. Mais si vous faites le calcul, vous allez constater qu'au niveau des 12 départements, nous avons donc 12 salles multimédia pour le primaire, 12 pour le secondaire. Mais pour ces 24 salles, nous avons près de 15 000 apprenants qui sont impactés. Ce n'est pas encore suffisant, mais pour un début, je crois que c'est un bon départ. Mais parallèlement à ça, nous avons des partenaires qui accompagnent le Bénin dans l'installation des salles multimédia. Alors, je veux citer l'UNESCO, l'Agence française de développement et la Fondation MTN. Donc, fondamentalement, ce qu'il faut retenir, c'est que nous sommes à une phase expérimentale où près de 150 écoles abritent déjà une salle multimédia. Merci. Merci bien.
Merci. And what sort of subjects areas have you been covering in the multimedia classrooms?
Oui, il y a l'informatique de base, il y a la programmation ludique, etc., etc.
Okay.
C'est ça qui constitue les modules de formation.
Okay, thank you. If I can move on to Mr. Kimotho from Kenya, just sort of give your experiences of applying digital technologies in Kenya.
Thank you. I have a lot to say, but I'll try to summarize and say it in the highlights that Kenya is transforming in both educational content and how education is delivered. We are doing our best to move together with the digital era because we believe our learners, who are quite many, we are talking about close to 15 million from pre-primary to primary and to secondary. We are looking at Kenya from Vision 2030 that says that Kenya will be a middle income with globally competitive citizens, and also the citation in Africa Union 2063 that Kenya will be a socio-economic powerful nation. And therefore, looking at our education content, and saying that we would like our learners to be empowered, to be engaged, and to be ethical, as well as nurturing every learner's potential. Therefore, in Kenya, we have come up with a competency-based curriculum, and in it, we have key competencies that among them is the digital literacy. In this case, we have seen digital literacy as a component to be in every learning area, so that we are not waiting for computer specialists to be innovative in agriculture, but those people who are good in agriculture to still be innovative in the digital era. And therefore, we have been able to do that in fusing, and it is working very well for us so far. We have had the competency-based curriculum now in pre-primary 1, pre-primary 2, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3, what we call the early years education. We are now moving to middle school, which is grade 4, 5, and 6. But alongside that, in terms of delivery, we have the digital literacy program that has provided digital devices at a ratio of 1:1 in the early years, so that the learners can have these digital devices as they go through the competency-based curriculum. That we then, in DLP1, we noted that it is capital intensive, because we needed to organize ourselves in ensuring the schools are powered, either with the grid power or with the solar. At the same time, we needed to have the teachers prepared, and we needed all these things to be put together. And therefore, Kenya developed a multi-sectoral approach to ensure that takes place. And this has been going on now. We are going into DLP2, where we want to put computer labs with laptops, so that we use mobile devices and not desktops. At the same time, we want to move further into coding and robotics as we go to grade 4, 5, and 6. This, we have already embarked on it. And DLP3 will be going to secondary schools, where we will now be creating using technology. We have brought together the delivery, starting with using radio from 1967 and using television from the year 2010, and now using an education crowd that is bringing all this together, and education content is now available on demand. In our TVET institutions, we have ensured that ICT is in every vocational area of specialization, so that those same learners can be able to design and use ICT in their programs. Besides that, when they go into entrepreneurship, then they can be able to market using ICT the products that they're able to make. That going forward, in terms of teacher training, again, from diploma, we have ensured that ICT is infused in the training of those teachers to make them ready as they go to the world of work in using ICT in the classroom. For the in-service, we have designed programs. We have been training teachers face-to-face for the last 4 years on ICT integration in teaching and learning, but noted that it is not doing as much as we would have wished, and therefore our teachers now take online courses on ICT integration, online courses on competency-based curriculum implementation, and they do this using any device, anytime, and from anywhere. This, we believe, will take us forward and engage us further. In terms of governance, e-government services are available to Kenyans from e-platforms, including applying for national IDs, applying for other services. And to make this one very possible, Kenya is putting up 1,160 free Wi-Fi centers spread across the country, so that those centers can even help our young ones in getting online jobs, that they can be able to be skilled and help in terms of job provisions. From anywhere in the world, we are situated in a situation whereby we can work for the East and we can work for the West because of the timelines. Besides that, we have the school net. We want to have the schools connected. Those we can do from these Wi-Fi centers with optical fiber, then we do that. Those we can't, then we use a kind of a radio system so that they can be connected. Why we need this connection is because we want to grow the digital content industry. And we believe with good digital content, some of the curriculum that we carry out in Africa can be able to benefit from good digital content. We can benefit from digital content from Ghana or any other place, and therefore the digital content industry to us is important. We have developed standards for digital content so that anyone wishing to make digital content relevant to our curriculum can look at those standards. They are free, they are available from our website, and then submit the content online anytime and from anywhere, and we are able to curate it or quality assure it online. That way we believe the digital content industry will grow. We are having learners with differentiated learning needs, and therefore we need a variety of content to move forward. What we are looking forward to now is learning analytics. How are we able to have content that at real time we can be able to help our learners understand their potential and use those analytics to improve learning outcomes? That way then we ask ourselves, what are the sustainable models that can be implemented and can live for a long time? Technology is challenging because it keeps on being disruptive, it changes. So what are these models that we can apply that will use domestic devices that can move forward? And that's why the country has already developed 2 centers of assembling digital devices. And the devices that we are going to buy in DLP2 will all be assembled in Kenya. And the devices that we also use in Kenya in other areas like population sensors and that, they are also assembled in Kenya. That way then we are able to re-engineer those devices to be responsive to our environment in both climatic and usage, and can be able to be good. That's why I conclude by saying, yes, we are on the transformation path, and would like to encourage anyone who can help us continue with transformation. We transform together. Even in teacher capacity building, we have learned from Ghana the way they are having communities of practice and days for teacher professional development. And those are things that we want to learn from and continue to improve as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It sounds such a comprehensive program, this digital literacy. Have you sort of seen any sort of impact on the student performance, on their skills or their performance in national examinations?
One of the things is that every learner in Kenya, when they are registering for national examination, they register online. If it is somewhere without a network, then the person will look for the nearest point, because we want to encourage online productivity. And because with that, then you are able to monitor and see how somebody is doing based on the digital ID. We are also having the National Education Management integrated system that will be able to see our learners as they progress. In terms of have we noted any progress? Yes, because the learners who have gone through the DLP, the digital learning program, have shown their competencies even as they do other things at home. They have been able to plow back in the digital platform and demonstrate the kind of learning they are gaining. And that way then, that's why we are looking at learning analytics to help us even improve that going forward.
Okay, thank you. And so my next question sort of refers to, you've all mentioned a lot about establishing digital infrastructure, providing devices in the classrooms. Obviously there's a wide range of funding and financial mechanisms for establishing that infrastructure. What sort of financial policy are you applying for establishing ICT education in your country? And are there any opportunities for partnerships with the industrial partners? Some of them are obviously present here at Innovation Africa. So maybe Mr. Murwira.
Yes, thank you very much. We have started on a very industry-friendly policy. In terms of the provisions of digital infrastructure, what we are doing it in 2 ways. One, people or investors can come and sell gadgets to our institutions, to each individual student on a loan basis. But what government does is to remove all tax provisions that are needed to import gadgets. So we have done that, and we are working very well on that. So students pay over time. So it makes it easier for increasing the density of gadgets amongst our students. That's number one. Number two, we are also doing the joint venture approach, where, because now all our universities are having industrial parks. We are constructing industrial parks for every university. We have done innovation hubs. We are now constructing industrial parks. And in these industrial parks, our universities are open to joint ventures with anyone who want to manufacture gadgets, and will give them special economic zone status so that they are able to manufacture gadgets for the Zimbabwean market and also for the regional market. So because we have the advantage of a highly literate population, it makes it easier to find local partnerships and so forth. And that government is now providing that environment where production can happen at universities. I'm talking about a deep philosophical thing here, whereby we are saying a university's product must not be only employment seekers. The university's product must be an industrialist. In order for that to happen, it therefore means the university itself must have an industrial park. And in that industrial park, that's where industry is interfacing with the university, with the intellect. Because, I mean, the configuration of our universities, if you look at it very closely, they were meant to fulfill a job. But the question which has to be asked to Africa is, who is bringing the job from where? That question was not being sufficiently answered. So we have answered it now by saying we will have a continuum up to production from a university perspective. So that sometimes people tell you, that's not the function of a university. And I ask the question, who's the university? The function of my university is to make sure that it ends up in industry. So in this perspective, joint ventures are going to be done with companies to manufacture gadgets at university industrial parks so that we cause that industrialization. So these are the two ways. One, you can have your gadgets imported and we give you rebate, but on the other hand, we'll encourage more those ones who want to do joint manufacturing with us at our industrial parks that we built as government. We've already started building 2. We are building the 3rd one next year. So that seriousness is what is needed for us to leapfrog and make sure that technology is available to our institutions and to the people that need to use them, and to debunk the idea of producing people for phantom industries that are not existing, that we should create ourselves. So this is the philosophical shift that we have done, and we call it Education 5.0, by the way, where we are moving from teaching, research, community service, innovation, and industrialization. Universities which do teaching, research, and community service are in the danger of producing people that will wait for a job that is not there.
Thank you very much, and I think that's great. You have a dual benefit from those employer engagements, that you're able to sort of support that infrastructure, but also ensuring the outcomes, the outputs of the education are relevant for industry.
Yes.
Thank you. Honourable Adutwum, how about in Ghana in terms of your policy for funding digital education?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. We have funding from the Ministry of Communication, as the Minister was here this morning, and there's a special fund that has been created out of which tax revenues are directed into it, and using that, our schools are able to receive computers from the Ministry of Communication. Just yesterday, 2 of my basic schools had computers dropped there, and very excited that in my constituency, students are going to get access to technology. We also have support from the government of Belgium. For last year, they built over 200 computer labs in various senior high schools through the government of Belgium. World Bank funding source also available for technology integration. So we are using both local and foreign support sources. But one of the things that I just said at the beginning is the efficiency savings that come along using technology against using other means of teaching and learning. And what you save from there sometimes is as equally valuable in terms of funding source. Because invariably we just look at the fact that these computers are expensive, devices are expensive, without looking at what the devices are going to replace and what we'll have spent on textbooks and other means other than using the devices. Now, the critical thing for me is we are not just looking at, for the ministry, we are not just looking at computers as tools for learning, but we are looking at them as tools to be learned. So you have to look at your software situations. You have to also begin to look at what are you teaching the kids. So it's not just the question of if I have this device, I can do well in mathematics, but if you have this device, what else can you do in terms of programming? And that is why the assessment becomes very critical. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here 5 years from now, and then we'll lament about the same issues if we do not get into this knowing exactly what we want the technology to achieve for us, which is efficiency in terms of management of our education system, which means we are looking at the back end of things. How are you using technology to account for attendance, teacher attendance, student attendance, and also analysis of student performance, which in itself also ensure that you can do more with instruction. So yes, we have the devices, you can learn English with it, you can learn mathematics with it, but what devices are we also devoting to data analysis, ensuring that we have analytics, as my brother from Kenya said, incorporated into the whole sphere of things. So when the kid is using the device, the teacher is getting a report that says your student is doing well on number sense, but in integers, he's not doing well. And if they can work on this problem, it will make them proficient in integers as they improve on number sense. So I think it's the holistic approach to the back end analysis, analytics, and then the front end in terms of teaching and learning, and then making sure that the teachers are in charge in terms of training. Because otherwise, the devices will come, which is the easy part. You have a loan, the devices are there, but you are not going to see the improvement you want if we don't front load our professional development and get the teachers incorporated. So what it means is that when you're doing your financial policy, you have to make sure that professional development cost is incorporated into your whole technology deployment system. So that, and that is what we are doing in Ghana with the basic schools, a program called Gallup, funded by the World Bank, and what we've incorporated professional development as a key component of the cost element, so that it doesn't become a surprise when the technology is deployed, and then you realize that teachers can't use it, but you did not set aside funds for teacher training.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting point, isn't it? That it's got to be holistic, look at the whole financial model of the software and all the support services. But if you're able to capture that data, that can help you revert back to more evidence-based decision-making on your policies, because you've got to base it on that data. Thank you. And Mr. Avodagbe, so the financial models and also the potential industrial partners in Benin.
Merci bien. Vous savez, l'objectif est de pouvoir installer au niveau de chaque école une classe multimédia, histoire de démocratiser l'éducation numérique. Mais forcément, ça a un coût. Et comme je venais de le dire, nous sommes à une phase expérimentale. Alors, progressivement, ces installations seront faites, histoire de permettre à ces enfants de bénéficier de l'initiation à l'outil informatique. C'est l'objectif premier. Mais comptant aussi sur les partenaires techniques et financiers qui apprécient l'option qui est prise, cette réforme, ces partenaires techniques et financiers donc qui ont commencé à nous accompagner, c'est sûr qu'ils ne vont pas baisser les bras. quand bien même de l'autre côté, le gouvernement va continuer à procéder à l'installation progressive de ces salles multimédia. Il y a le budget accordé au ministère de l'Éducation des enseignements, au ministère des enseignements maternels et primaires, qui est géré par le ministère sectoriel. Il y a, au niveau de ce budget, il y a déjà 8 salles multimédia qui ont été installées sur financement propre du ministère. C'est vous dire que tout moyen est bon pour l'installation de ces salles. Il ne s'agit pas pour nous d'attendre forcément une source de financement. Toute source de financement est une opportunité à saisir pour l'installation de ces salles multimédia. Donc, arrivé ici, et c'est pourquoi je tiens à féliciter les organisateurs de ce sommet. Nous avons eu l'opportunité de voir des entrepreneurs qui ont élaboré tout un ensemble de matériel informatique et qu'on peut même utiliser dans les milieux ruraux où il n'y a pas de panneaux solaires, où il n'y a même pas d'électricité, tout ça. Je dis ça c'est une très bonne chose et le compte rendu sera fait pour que les gouvernants puissent prendre leurs responsabilités, histoire de pouvoir, parce que les apprenants qui sont dans les milieux ruraux ont besoin de la même formation numérique que ceux qui sont dans les milieux urbains. Alors c'est pourquoi nous ne devons pas sacrifier ceux qui sont dans les milieux ruraux ou semi-urbains. C'est dit alors que les partenaires nous entendent, et les entrepreneurs avec qui très prochainement les gouvernants auront à prendre des contacts, qu'ils soient quand même accessibles au niveau du prix, pour permettre aux différents gouvernements de pouvoir mettre à disposition des apprenants de leur pays et ces installations indispensables à l'éducation numérique. C'est fondamental. Merci bien.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then also then Mr. Kimotho, the financial policies in Kenya.
In Kenya, the policy is about the funding of the digital learning. As I indicated, you realize that the name is Digital Learning Program, not project. And therefore, sustainability to us, because of the continuation, is very important. That provision of education is not something you can provide today, and then after 1 year, you say the funding is not there, we stop. In this regard, then, it's a dividing between the two, that one is a capital investment, the other one is recurrent. So how do we manage the capital investment or provision, for example, of the devices, and then the recurrent of capacity building the teacher and providing the content? Because one, putting up the model classrooms and the multimedia classroom is another, but are they going to be used? They'll only be used if you have good, sufficient, and relevant content. Therefore, our funding there is divided into that. There's the capital and there's the recurrent. I will not say that there is any like external support. We depend on our national budget so that we were able to fund our DLP1 and we are funding our DLP2 accordingly. But the most important is the transfer of skills so that even when you have external technical support, then you have the transfer of skills going through into the citizens so that there can be sustainability. I want to also encourage Africa talking to Africa, because while we are here with the delegation from Kenya, we are able to see some digital devices in Ghanaian schools that will make a lot of meaning in our schools. So if Africa talks to Africa, then we are able to get those sustainable investments into digital learning that will go into our schools. Finally, what we have noted is that the best way to operate is through a framework agreement, so that if it is provisioning, then we are able to provide as much as we can afford within a certain period, and then we can, without going through the whole process of acquisition, then we are able to provision and get implementation through what we call the call-off contracts that are able to get that. But let me just mention about these model classrooms. Our head of state has told us clearly that provide devices and provide digital education to learners irrespective of the state of the classroom, because it is the learning, not the classroom. And therefore we say, even if there's no concrete floor, the teachers, they are using mobile phones. The devices will be able to survive, and the learner will grow from there going forward. So for me, I would say that we would advise get digital learning. Concentrate more on getting digital learning than getting beautiful classrooms, because those learners will be able to provide beautiful infrastructure once they get into digital learning and once they learn and become competitive in a digital era. ICT brings new jobs. So investing in it will make the learners bring in new jobs. New jobs bring in revenue. Revenue will make this grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just conscious of time, we've got a couple of minutes left. So just one last question, if you can, very quick response. What's next, or if everything worked out, what would you like to see next for digital application in education in your country?
Thank you very much. I am looking forward to a whole value chain from conceptualization, manufacturing, and use, because there's been so much. When you use, you must go back to conceptualization and be able to participate in the whole value chain. This is what I'm expecting of our education to do, that it cannot be a spectator, it has to be a participant in this global village and be able to do things, not just moan and whimper. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think in Ghana,
Has it come off, has it?
probably came off. Okay. Can I use my voice?
Yes.
Yeah, for the sake of time, what we are saying in Ghana, we are the stage where we've done a number of pilots. We've done some good things. For example, with the iBox, we're at a point where we can really look at how do we use technology to leapfrog. And in technology deployment, we are not just looking at the hardware, but we're also looking at how our students will be the ones who will program the hardware eventually, and the ones who will actually build the devices eventually. And therefore, any partnership that we seek for, we are looking for people who will come and say, we are developing the device with you. Initially, it will be assembled, but we want to see the manufacturing of the motherboard on the computers in Ghana. That way, we can see the whole, the idea of creating the whole value chain, as my brother alluded to, and making sure that Ghanaian children are growing up with a skill set that will truly enable them to not just empower themselves, not just empower their country, but begin to look at the transformation that we are seeking for an upper middle income country.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Avodagbe.
Oui, merci bien. Au niveau du Bénin, nous avons une agence béninoise des services universels qui s'occupe du numérique. Et là, toutes les analyses se font, et toutes les formations sont données, et surtout aux enseignants, dans le but de maximiser ces installations qui sont mises dans les écoles, histoire de favoriser l'alphabétisation numérique. Donc, comme je l'avais dit, à ce niveau, on ne peut pas encore parler de plus-value, on ne peut pas encore tout de suite évaluer, mais ce qui est sûr, avec l'importance du numérique, on ne peut pas faire autre chose que ça. Donc, avec l'agence, tout ira bien. Avec la recherche de financement, avec l'organisation des différentes formations, surtout formation des enseignants qui seront appelés à encadrer ces apprenants. Donc, à ce niveau, voilà ce que je peux déjà vous répondre. Merci.
Thank you. And finally,
one last one is, for me, the word value chain was used, and it is very important that all the way from the curriculum to the delivery of that curriculum, that we are operating on a digital platform that is sustainable. I'm also looking forward to a situation whereby we are not deprecating. And as the minister has said, if Ghana is making the motherboard, then can we do something else and then supplement each other so that then sustainability can come faster than before? I'm looking at a situation where we are working more on the attitude of the teachers than the capacity of the teachers to operate the devices, so that eventually our teachers can be comfortable facilitators and can be content creators, so that we are not worried about the cost of creating content or buying content, but the teachers themselves are able to create that content. I'm looking at those supportive engagements that if Kenya is good in learning analytics and Ghana is good in the iBox, then we can be able to support each other in those elements. That way, sustainability will come faster. Thank you.
thank you so much, and thank you so much for my esteemed and honourable panellists. I think this conversation could go on all day. It's really interesting. I think just to summarise is, I think given the scope and the challenges we face in education, well-deployed technology can provide meaningful developments and improvements. I think we need to find a balanced way to introduce technology to fully enhance its capabilities and benefits. And so we need to ensure that those investments are there for digital infrastructure, but also key around those measures to expand teacher capabilities. I think, at Pearson, a global learning company, we've experienced significant disruption, in our products and services, and now becoming a digital-first company. Across the board, we'll still continue to publish textbooks, but really trying to see the advantages and the benefits of digital technology in education. And just going to finish off on a video, which hopefully will reflect this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Content. We are evolving what we do to meet changing needs. Consider the learning experience today. One learner, a textbook, taught in a classroom. They sit their paper exam at college. 3 months later, they get the results, and then they go back to their normal world of managing everything on their phone. Learning in the future will look like one learner, multiple access points for engaging content, video, audio, and games, always evolving. Content that can be used by multiple learners simultaneously 24/7 on any device. Short modular courses and bite-sized, easily accessible, digestible content. A collaborative gamification experience, engaging with peers who are doing the same thing. Content will engage, excite, and inspire.